swing. So for that I've used uh, Apache NetBeans to design the framework. Okay, so in case if you're looking to modify from the interface side, so that can be done using Apache NetBeans. So this is the ID which I used to design the interface, and in the background, like ready to test automation stuff. For that I've used Selenium and Java, and for API testing I've used HTTP client for that. Fine. And and for that for the backend development I've used the Eclipse as an IDE. So based on your choice, either you can use Eclipse or IntelliJ, whatever the existing IDEs you have. Okay, so that can be used for that for the backend code writing. And the existing code, the code base can be downloaded from the given URL. So it is available in the GitHub, and it's like a free open source, so it can be downloaded. So you don't have to create an account for that. It's a public repo, so the required code can be downloaded from the given URL. Fine. So let's see that. Okay. So the first step is that either you can clone the repo from the GitHub, or in case if you are not well versed in cloning and how to do a basic pull or push or fetch or whatever it is, what we do generally as a part of your CLI. So better you download as a zip file and download as a whole project in your local system. Okay, instead of cloning it if you are not well versed with the cloning process. So either you clone it or you download as a zip as a project, and then once you import the project in any of the IDs. Okay, so that you can do that. So once you import that, then you just build the project and the project is ready to use. Okay, so the main class which is getting used to trigger the framework you can find in GUI package, and which is your automation test runner. So this is going to be your main class to execute the framework. So in case if you are converting this project or project as a, you can convert this as an executable jar file also. Okay, so for that you should be knowing that this is the main file which needs to be triggered. And already I've done the implementation, the BOM XML file, so it's a ready-made thing, you can say that. So just you have to convert into executable jar file, so it can be usually used as a jar file also. Okay, so as I said that this is going to be the main class to trigger the framework. Fine. So once you import the project, build it. Okay, so whatever the Java version you're using, so which I've used is I develop over using the JDK 17. So any higher version can be used to build the project or to run the project. So once you're done with the once you build the project, so project is ready to use that. So let me go and invoke this class to invoke the framework. Okay, so this is the interface once you invoke the framework. So this is the interface which you are going to see. Fine. So as I said, it's a framework, it's not a tool. Okay, so we are keeping it very simple, and only if you see that you can find out there are only 4 modules. One module is to build your test, second is you have to edit the existing test suite, or third is you have to execute whatever the test cases you are going to design or you have designed, or the last one is to verify or to keep a log of all the test reports. Okay. So as this session is about API tests. Okay, so just choose API test. So same 4 modules will be available for API testing also. Okay, and remember that this is because we are not hosting this tool over any through a web service or over the internet. So what is happening, it will be happening in your local system. So any kind of data or something which are using to automate your APIs, it's always secure, because this framework is hosting in your local system. It's not emitting any data outside your system or your network. Okay, so whatever the data which you are using it will be saved in your local system only. Fine. Okay, so we'll take an example to understand that how we can build the API test using this framework. Okay, so I'll pick up some existing API, open APIs over the internet. So I found in website which can be used as a practice. Okay, where it's gone? Yeah. Okay. So this is a website like where you can pick up your just to practice any AP existing APIs for practice. Fine. So let's take an example to understand and how this framework works. Okay. So before that, let me open Postman also. Why I'm opening Postman? Because maximum time we use this as a if you're if you're manually testing any APIs. So generally this is the most widely used tool which we use for our manual testing, and the framework which is designed is quite not I won't say quite parallel, but little bit parallel to the at least based on the understanding how we understand the Postman, it will be almost little bit parallel to that side. So you can easily understand that what needs to be feed while writing your automated test cases. Fine. Okay. So we all understand that when we are testing any API, there are 3 to 4 main ingredients which we have to use that. Like apart from unless other apart from GUI testing, where there are a lot of things are involved when we are writing GUI test cases. Okay. But when it comes to API testing, we know that there are 4 to 5 main ingredients which has to be used with the API to test the APIs. Okay. So say for example, there should be always an URL. URL basically it's your where your APIs are hosting and the path to that specific API. So we need a URL. Okay, and then we have to define what type of request we are what type of API request it is. Okay, and with that API request, there might be some extra data which we will be passing when we are sending our request to the server. Okay. So mostly there will be a main ingredient which is called your header. Sometimes we have to pass some extra information with their API, so it goes in the form of headers. And if any kind of authorization are there, so that also we will pass it through that. Okay. And if we are requesting or we need to post any data, so there should be some kind of a body which we need to pass with an API. Okay. And rest is we send the API to get some response. We give it on response. So what are the responses coming? Make the API pass or fail based on that. So if you analyze that, these are the 4 to 5, 6 ingredients which are main ingredients which we generally use to test our APIs. Same will be followed with the framework also. Okay, so I'll keep this, let it open, so we can correlate that is what is happening. So you can easily correlate that. Right. So as I said that, like an example, we'll take an example to automate few APIs here to see how it works. So this is some APIs which are given to, I think, to create a product, any kind of a product. So if you can see that there is a API to add an object, means to create an object. Object means they are creating some product, and then there is API to fetch the same object, and another API which is updating the same object, and another API which is deleting the object. Okay. So this is 4 transaction which is happening through an API. So this is the same transaction we'll try to automate using the framework. Okay, so we go to the first module which is our build API test. Okay, you click on that, you will see a window like that. Okay, so in this window there are a few buttons which are given. So this plus means to add this. If you click, it will add few blank rows to write your test step. This is to delete your test step. So any existing test step which needs to be deleted, it will delete that. And this button is to if you want to add a step, our selected step, like say for example, after writing your test case, if you found out that okay, one more step will come before that new step, so that can be added with this button. And this button can be used to add a step below the selected step. So for example, in the same scenario, if I have to add a blank step after this one step, so if I click on that, a new step will be added here. This is your save button. This will save your whole test suite. Okay, this window is a kind of a template which we can use to create multiple test cases. And once you save all these multiple test cases, we are referring as a test suite. So we'll take an example of the first API. So now here we have to create an API. Okay, so for creating, like I have to post something. Okay, I believe posting the data. Okay, so the first step is that. Okay, now as I said that this window can be used to create multiple test cases. Now we have to segregate all that each test cases. So that segregation has to be done through some using some test ID. Okay, so you can give any test ID, unique test ID, which can be used to segregate the test cases within the test suite. Fine. Now, next step is that we will choose a request. So we are posting a data. We need to create some data. Okay. So I choose a request. So as of now, get, post, put, and delete are available. Okay. I will be adding the patch sooner, and I think few more requests are there that will come later. But maximum, these are the four request type generally we play with when we are doing about API testing. Okay. Now second is that now we have to pass the URL. So I'll take that. Okay. So this is my URL. Fine. So I'll give the URL. I'll paste it here. Okay. Next, my headers. So headers. Okay. Before that, do I passing any payload? Yes, I am passing a payload. I will take this payload. Okay. And then I will paste it here, down window here in the payload. And then if you scroll a little bit down, then you have to define the type of the payload windows. Okay, so this is a JSON type. So if you go back to the Postman, if you see, there are 4 to 5 types of what you can pass it. Okay, form data, URL, encoded, raw, binary. Okay, so right now this frameworks support 2 data types, JSON and your this one, form, URL, encoded data. So any of this data can be used. I will be adding this other types also later, but currently these two are available. Fine. Okay. Next is your modify payload or something. Say for example, like if you can be used to define, like for example at runtime, if you want to change any value at runtime within the payload. Okay. So for example here, like if I have to change the year, right now it is 2019. I can go and give in my payload also. I can type it here. Like for example 2025. Correct. But as I said that, like every time I have to go and change the value again and again and again. Okay, so it will be a repeated task. So I want that any value should be there. So the value which I need to pass it from my test, that should be replaced there. So what you have to do, that you have to define the tag name and whatever the value which you want to update at the runtime. Okay, so say for example I want to make it 2025. Okay, assume that. So this value needs to be modified at runtime. Okay, so this is the one form which is kind of a hard coded, but assume that this value needs to be you don't want to go into the test and want to replace this value. So we can pass this value as an environment env variable also. Okay, so how I can do that? It's pretty much simple. If you go here, if you click on this icon, you will get something like this. Okay, so let me delete all. So I'm saying that I will be passing the value from outside. So I'm declaring a environment variable product. I'm saying year. Okay. So why I'm doing like that? Say for example, like if this same value needs to be modified in multiple APIs at the same time. So for each like from the test step, like you have to go and manually add it. Correct. So like say for example tomorrow you have to pass some other value. So again you have to open all your tests and modify them manually. So better is to pass the value as environment variable. So only at one place I have to update it in case I have to update it for the multiple test steps. Okay. So here I'm passing 2025 and this value I will use it. So I'll just save it. Okay. I'll go there and I'm saying that. Okay. So I will define this value in a curly brace like that. Okay. So what will happen now? At runtime, whatever the value I have defined for this environment variable, that will be picked and modified within my payload. Okay, this we'll see that when we are going to run this example. Okay, now second is your okay, fine. Now anything we are not passing any authorization, no authorization is there. So currently there are 2 authorization I'm maintaining. One is your basic auth and your bearer token. So either of the authentication required, you can choose that. Okay, so for current API it is not there, so we are not defining it here. SS validation we are not doing. Expected status I'm saying it should be 200. Okay, fine. And if you see the last column called test description, so when you define multiple test cases and when you execute those test cases, so you should know that like what this test case has been created for. So you need some kind of a description to identify that what is that why we have testing this test case, what this test case is going to test that. Okay, so this is non-mandatory field, but again as I said that when your report is get published, so like your report should clearly say that okay why this what this test is meant for. So we need some kind of a description. So you can give the description here. So for example, I give a description. I'm saying that create. So we're creating a product here. Assume that with this API. So I'm saying create product. Okay, fine. So this is done. That's it. Now my second API is that after posting the same API, now I have to, for example, I have to get the same product. Like I have to retrieve it. Once it got created, I need to retrieve. I need to check it whether it's created or not. So I need to retrieve it. So same product. So I'm going to use the get. So now same thing. Go to test ID. As I said that now we have to segregate because there is one test case. The second test case is a different test case. So I need to segregate that test case. So I have to give some ID. Okay. So you can give some ID. So now this is a get. And what is the API for get? Single. I am going to use this API. Okay, take it. Okay, now if you see that within this API, if you see this API very clearly, so what you see in this API, the URL, so the product which you want to retrieve, that needs to be passed, because this product, the product which you are creating, if you see that it is getting created here. So this is the response of that product, if you can see it here, correct? So when this product, from the payload you are creating the product, when the product is got created, it will get created with a unique ID. So if you see that when you try to get the product, okay, so you need to pass that ID here. Now right now it is a hard-coded ID. And what I have to do that, so whatever the product which is getting created in my first API, when I'm posting it, it will generate some ID. So now that ID needs to be fetched from the response and passed to this API here. Like that ID needs to be passed here actually. It has to be passed here. Okay. So only then I can fetch the existing product which I just now created. So that how I'm going to do that. Okay. So let's see that. That is pretty much simple. So what you have to do that, we know that the first API is going to generate a response for me. Okay. So now once the response is get generated, for example, this one, yes. So this I need to capture this value and store it somewhere. I have to capture the ID at runtime and store it somewhere, and then I have to pass that value to this API here. Instead of 7, I have, because this is a hard-coded value, I need that ID which is getting generated runtime. The first step is that first I have to capture the ID into some variable, or you can say into some environment variable, because we're creating the environment variable runtime, because they can be used globally across the test. So the first step is that I have to capture this value into some variable. Okay, so I'm going to do that. So what you will do that, if you scroll it little bit, so if you see that there are two columns, are the response tag name and the capture tag value, correct? So I'm telling the framework, capture the value of ID from response and store it into a variable. Say for example, I'm saying create a variable runtime product ID. Okay, product ID. So if you see that this is my environment variable which I have created. I'm not creating this variable product ID. I'm not creating this variable. Okay, this I have created because I have to create it, because this is something I am passing at the first place. This is not getting generated at runtime through some response or like that. So this is I am trying to create that. But there is a scenario where I'm saying that capture the value and create a variable at runtime and store that value into this product ID. Okay. So what will happen with this two declaration? It will capture the value from the response of ID, and at runtime it automatically going to create. So the user is not going to create this variable. So automatically this variable will get created at runtime, and the value will get stored in the environment variable. Okay, that's it. Let me save this again. Okay, we'll save this first. Okay, we'll save it later in the last file. So this is defined. Okay, we have defined that. Okay, now as I said that now this value will ID will come and sit into this environment variable. So what I'm going to do, the second updation which I'm going to do it here. So now I'm going to remove this hardcode value, right, and giving this value, which will I give this. So this variable name I'll give it here. So what will happen runtime? It will get captured, and this value, instead of that ID, this ID will be used. So that variable value will be used here. Okay. So if you can see that, I can tweak my URL also with runtime values with the help of environment variables. And the good thing is that I don't have to create it explicitly, and just you have to define the name, it will automatically get created and the value will get stored, and the same will be passed it here. Fine. Fine. Now after that, we are not passing any headers, nothing. We are doing it. We are just coming here and we are saying just run that. Expected status is that and we give this some description. We are saying that get product. Okay, get product. Okay, fine. Okay, now next is your, say for example, now I have to update that existing object, the object which we have created, we need to update it. Okay, so now in put, what is happening, we are passing a payload to update the same object, and then we are verifying that it is updated or not. So I think in this, if you see this something color, we are adding the color to that product. In the first payload there was no color, if you can see that. So through update we are trying to add the color also. Okay, same thing, we need to segregate the test case first. So we'll give some unique ID, and then we are doing a put, and what is the API, same API is there, so I will use the same API because again we have to pick the same product. Okay, fine. And then headers, okay, we have to define the headers also. So what is the headers here? So because it is a JSON body, so I have to pick this. This is default actually. Okay, see this is showing header, but this is not that correct one. Body, let me, if I take JSON, see the header will get automatically get changed here. Oh, it's not changing, I don't know why. It should get changed here, no problem. So okay, so what I'm saying, that header which need to pass is content type. Okay, this here also we have to pass it because we are posting it, content type, header type, and the, what is the value, and the value is your, I think, application JSON, content type. Okay, so I'm giving it here. Okay, application JSON, same I will do it for here because we are updating something in the database with the JSON format. Okay, fine. Now this is my body which I'm going to use it. Okay, let me copy it from here, and I will go back and I will just dump it here. Okay, so it will update it. Okay, now if you see that it's 2019 and here we are changing to 2025. Okay, in case if you want to change to keep the same, it will change to 219. Otherwise you can do the same stuff here. Okay, you are saying you can use it because it's already changing now year. So see here, and now I'm saying product here. So these two changes, I will be changing this at runtime, and all because it's a new payload, so it automatically get added to that color, will add it to that your product. Okay, so that is done. That is an authorization. I'm saying this should be 200, and I'm saying that update product. Okay, fine. So we'll update the product, and now I will delete the product next. So what I'm saying that, okay, so I'm saying that delete it, same. Okay, nothing is going to change it here. Okay, no header, nothing getting passed here because we are not passing any payload, something like that. Okay, this always remember to choose the type, whichever the type. Okay, it's a mandatory stuff. Rest we are not doing anything, nothing, just we will verify the status code, and we will say that delete product. Okay, fine. I'll delete this extra row. So these are two test cases, you can say that I have able to create it. Okay, post, get, and put with the same transaction, and we see that how with the help of the environment variable how we can play around. So same, the value which is getting generated and captured in this, so this can be used across wherever you want. So doesn't mean this value which you are using it, environment variable, can be used only at the URL level, means at this level only. If you see that the same value can be used across headers, in JSON payload, wherever you want. I'll show you one example of that. Okay, fine. So this is done my 4 tests, and let me save this. So you can save it with any name. Okay, test API, because end of the day it's creating Excel sheet in the backend, simple. Okay, so I'm saying test API, anything you can get, just a name. Okay, API for product, I'm just giving something, save it. Okay, so this is saved. So this test suite is saved for you. Okay, so this test set is saved for you. So this is for creating a test suite. Say for example, if you created a test suite and after that you want to modify something, if you want to add it, so what you can do, that you can use the second option, second module, which is edit API test. Simple, same buttons. Go there, upload it. As I said, that is end of the day an Excel sheet in the back end. So just upload it. It will get uploaded, and then you can, add, modify with the or play around with the existing test cases. This is my environment variable list, which I am just passing 2025 right now. That's it. I'm doing nothing. Okay, let me close this.